Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Bitcoin and Altcoin Trading Talk. I'm your host, Joe with Coinigy, joined by Mr. Brian Beamish from TheRationalInvestor.com. Welcome, Brian.
Evening all. Hello, Joe. Always great to see you again.
Likewise, we're out here trying to make a positive difference in the world and
Well, there you go.
trading.
Jesus, you're stealing my lines
Here
already.
we go. Yes, sir. Hey, I've been at this long enough. I'm getting the hang of it there, Brian. But
It's
nice to
all
see
good.
you
Hey, if it's good
joining.
for if it's for a good karmic cause, totally fine with me. Steal the lines all you want.
Yes, sir. Well, just to everyone out there, please remember to like the video. If you're watching this at a later date, it does help us get this message out there and the good trading technical analysis from the wonderful Mr. Brian Beamish. So it does help. I always feel like we end up saying that at the end of the show. So wanted to get that out at the beginning while we have more people
Yeah, we should probably
watching.
there should be like some sort of moniker or something. 35-year market veteran Brian Beamish
Yes, sir.
coming at you. In fact, actually, I should speak. It's interesting because you've been telling me stories about you going and finishing your master's. And I probably should get off my butt and go and do the Chartered Market Technicians program and get my CMT designation. And that way, all of you will think, oh, okay, well, this guy actually knows what he's talking about because he's got these letters after his name, all that nonsense.
I do put that monologue in our newsletter every week.
Oh, that's good. Yep.
With I give you guys a little backlink to rationalinvestor.com just
Cool.
to your about us page there.
I've
So
actually been running the school now for 10 years. Can you believe that?
crazy. So
10 bloody
that
years.
lines up with about how long Coinigy's been around. We're coming up on our 10th birthday in May.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, and then
about
I,
six
I
months
think
out.
we hooked up. It must have been from the gods, but we hooked up with Will and Rob right out of the gate. And actually, that was back. I don't know. Do you ever see Rob ever? Do you see Rob too much these days? I do hear that you talk about Will. Does he still?
Rob is down in Florida, and so he went out there before we went fully remote. So still see him and talk to him, but William's more of my direct report. Rob's more on the development side of things. So, well, I guess
Okay.
William is too, but for the longest time it was I worked a lot more closely with William in office, but yeah, still see him, talk to them frequently. So all is well with them.
Okay, well
Is
that's good to hear. Can you guys over on YouTube give us some feedback? How's the video? How's the audio? Are we humming along here? I see Adam, one of our regulars, is in audience. I do know we got a little bit of a message from OBS saying, "Hey, you might need to work on your connection." And it kind of looks like Joe, your video
frozen.
actually looks like it might be a bit frozen here. So I don't know whether we have that
Interesting.
working
I see
correctly or
video
not.
ninja. It says
Adam's giving us the AOK sign. You can see I had just OBS on the screen there. So it is a recording from my end, but I do notice that your picture looks kind
yeah, it
of.
does look I do look frozen.
Let's see.
Internet's going on my end.
Let's. What I want to do is let's see if we can go find your video ninja link. There might be a problem with that.
I can restart mine and send you a new one if needed.
Might be a good idea. I'm not quite sure why that's like that. Let's see. Properties. Yeah. That Video Ninja is not very happy.
Oh, here we go. Copied.
So if you could maybe send me a new one. Oh, something changed there. All
Yeah, I
right. So
just
you killed that old one.
yeah, and sent you the new one.
All right. And let's see what we got here. We'll copy that. Put that into the box on OBS and we will hit the enter button and let's see what happens. Do we get Joe back? Hey, there he is. Look at that. Oh, two thumbs up and everything.
Awesome.
Yay.
Well, hopefully we get that rocking and rolling and staying there.
Yep.
But still quite the week for cryptocurrency there. Last week, or I guess since the last time we spoke, you got good old SBF on all charges, which
Yeah, kaboom, eh? Holy moly, they
boom,
sure
good
dropped the hammer
riddance.
on that guy.
Yeah, they sure did. And then so Bitcoin's been bouncing up. I saw we got up to hit 36,000 today to USD, which is pretty
Yeah,
cool to see it bounce back and get it up there.
that was an
But
important level for me because I had a trade setup. I could walk you through the trade setup, but an important level was just hit there. So now theoretically, if I did take the long setup, I don't know whether I showed you or not, but I had a trend continuation trade setup, and I think the magic number was $36,018 or something like that. It had to hit. And as soon as that level's
still,
hit, then I officially am allowed to move my stop to scratch, so I can't get hurt on the trade. So that's always a good sign.
that is. Well, love to hear that.
Yeah, and
Um,
then we have been walking all of you through this link idea. And anybody who's been watching these Coinigy shows trying to learn TA 101,
like
including Joe
myself.
himself,
Yes,
I
sir.
think you got a really, really good lesson on what do technical breakouts look like. Well, my friends, they look a heck of a lot like that. And also, too, very important. Have you ever heard me use the expression "volume speaks volumes"? I don't know whether
Yes,
I've
sir.
said that to you. So, seeing the volume ramping up here, that's a very, very positive sign. So, it looks like there are a couple cautionary problems with all of this. You don't really like to see the market rally into November, December, but we'll see how it goes over time. Um, but maybe we'll just throw on stamp here or something, just a cash market. Um, I suppose I'll just show you this 4-hour chart, and then if I understand correctly, lots and lots of requests. So we probably should limit our time with Brian's rhetoric and all that, and just jump right into the list. In fact, I think you got like a stopwatch or something ready to go here
Yes,
for me,
sir.
right?
So, yeah, we've got a handful of lists from the listeners and from social media friends.
Hmm.
So we are going to set about 10 minutes timers and just try to power through a lot of these because as a request from last week that we do a little more of a power hour. So we're always happy to listen to what the viewers want to hear and see. So
We
if you've
are.
got any requests, please be sure to send them in the comments here. We'll do our best to take a look at as many as possible. But first things first, let's take a look at the mothership of them all, Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it really, it's not in anybody's best interest for me to like blow smoke up your butt and say we're going to the moon and all that kind of talk. I think if
But
anything,
that would
that kind
get
of,
you clicks, Brian.
pardon me?
But that would get you clicks.
Yeah, probably. Eh? Well,
Yeah,
that's the
I'm
worst
just
part
kidding.
about it.
But
And
that's what we love
that's
about you. You're honest and you keep it real.
okay. I try to keep expectations limited. I always say, plan for the worst, but hope for the best. And, if the best turns out, great. Well, you hope for it. So it wasn't like it wasn't in your wheelhouse of possibilities. But I hate when they, plan for the best, plan for moon, and people, just roll them bones and stuff like that. I don't like that kind of thinking. Anyway, so the range that I'm going to use to measure this measured move and show you this lower time frame setup that I have working right now. My model says that I need to see at least a 33% pullback, but no more than a 66% pullback. So you notice that this rally up top here, we pulled back to 33%. If I drag this down to say here, then we didn't get that 33%. So that's too big of a range for me to use. So I do like the idea of measuring this range and then basically just duplicating this. And of course, this is our classic harmonic. The AB equals,
CD.
oh, you're so smart. So
Learn from the
we can
best.
just go like boobity boo and boobity boo, and it gives you an idea. Holy moly, where the hell price want to go here? So there is our upside objective, and if we do hit that level, then according to this trading model, I should be taking profits. But what I would just simply say is as price moves higher, I get given a whole bunch of instructions on how to behave and position myself. So as it stands right now, the entry of this trade should have been at 34,607. And as long as the market just keeps making higher highs and higher lows, then you just stay with the trade. Notice you can see that says, actually this one interesting on stamp. This is Bitstamp? Yeah, it is. Oh, versus
Yes,
Tether, that's why. Well, if you use Tether, so be it. Low there, 33,216. I have a 33,215. So unfortunately, this is the part of this doing these trend continuation patterns. These numbers have to be exactly right or all hell can break loose. So I'll just move this up to that actual level. We said that low was 16, wasn't it? So one tick higher, 15, 17. Oh, there's 16. Yay. Okay. So according to this, I should be long on this USDT there from 34, what does that say, 608? I think that's what that number is. And at 36,001 versus this Tether quote, I can move my stop to scratch. So what does that mean? That means that if this thing does come down, like my original entry of this particular setup, I call it the bot, it would be entry at that 20 level. And any of you can use this. I mean, that half of the job is you as a market participant is you have to figure out what kind of strategies and setups work best for you. I can't tell you what's going to work for you. That's half of the reason why we teach so many different setups, so many different risk management approaches, and then it's just a question of you figuring out what works best for you mentally and going with it. So according to this setup, you enter at the 25 level, your target is 100, so that basically creates a 3-to-1 risk reward ratio. So the long signal is from, come on, you, there to there, there's your profit window, potential profit, of course. And this is your risk window, this box down here, right? And we always want to try and, silly magnet. Silly magnet, tricks are for kids. Something like that. So that's what basically this sets up. And at 50% of the anticipated range, I am allowed to move my stop. And what I would just simply say on this is we'll clone that. We'll say move stop to scratch. And at 66% of the move, that's that level right there, I can move my stop to trailing. There are a number of different methodologies to trail stops. You know, if you're just using price action alone, remember the bot setup, you need to see 3 higher lows to justify taking this trade. So you can see 1 low, 2 lows, 3 lows, 4 lows, and lots of W's along the way. So in essence, at this move stop to trailing, you just count backwards all the key lows. And if you can count backwards more than 3 key lows, that's higher than the stop at scratch level, because that's where your stop would be, then you can start moving your stop up, right? And that's basically if the market does something like up, right, and just keeps sort of climbing higher slowly every time the market makes a new high, you can just count backwards 3. This is the 3 high-low method, the logic behind the whole bot setup. And you just keep moving your stop up as we go. And of course, if I was trading futures contracts, because they're so volatile and so violent, you just have what's called AOCO order, to exit the trade at the AB equals CD point D harmonic. And AOCO in trader talk just simply means automatically order cancels order. So we head up into there, boom, you sell your position, and then all those trailing stop orders and all that, they automatically get canceled on the order book. Some places have AOCO orders, some don't. So, that's entirely up to you and your broker and what platform you're using. Anyway, there's the trade. So, as I said there a moment ago, I was quite relieved to see that this move stop to scratch level is finally hit. So now, theoretically, instead of me risking to a break of here and actually losing money, I'm officially allowed to move my stop to the entry level. So if I was long this in real dollars, then I'd be long here. If you looked at the account, you'd see a big sort of green plus sign. And you as a trader, you have to sort of ignore that, right? And if anything, one guy that I used to work with, like how people take little pieces of tape and paper, and if they don't want to be seen on their cameras, they just put a little piece of tape and a piece of paper right over the camera, and it closes that. He would actually do that to his trading DOM, to his actual account thing. He'd take a little piece of tape and a little piece of paper, and he'd put it right over the balance thing, because you don't want your subconscious to see that number fluctuating all over, because that's going to trigger your emotional response and get you to do stupid things like move stops prematurely. Anyway, point of the matter here is, if you did go long at the bot level, this is a great trend continuation setup that we do teach in our education program. I actually, when I first got funded as a prop trader, 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, somewhere in there, this is the setup that I traded exclusively to get funded. So anyway, it works pretty well. So anyway, as you can see, and that was my comment to start off the video, there are a ton, and maybe you know, maybe you don't know, there are a ton of indicators that are flashing warning signs here. I mean, there are just so many. They're everywhere. I just had in our TRI lounge, for anybody, and we run a site called therationalinvestor.com. Might as well give you a shameless plug here while I've got your attention. Actually, the boys have created a really clean looking site. We have lots of get-togethers, social get-togethers, meetups, and stuff like that with the community. This is one of the principals of TRI. There's Julian. Here's Colin, and he's part of Hero Exchange, and he's got a buddy of his that he works with, Dan, and I actually was PMing you earlier about maybe us doing a show with these guys.
I like your pose in the background.
Huh?
I like your pose in the background there.
Yeah, there's Brian. Oh, what a doofus. There's our level 2 instructor, Marat. I could just go through and name everybody here, but here is actually one of our recently funded prop traders, Raf. He was actually an old instructor on site. So anyway, we do a lot of sort of promoting from within. Anyway, this is our site. I really like the community. Here's another shot of us all getting together. This was a cruise that we all took together. So the point here is, in the lounge, we have a very active lounge, and I think they're very good traders. It was interesting that somebody had just mentioned before we got the video going, BTC has divs now on the 1 hour, 2 hour, 4 hour, 8 hour, and 12 hour and daily charts. So you now understand the term div, right? When I say div, do you understand what that means?
Yep.
Okay, well, divergence, right?
i.e.
Yes. Prices making higher highs or prices making lower lows, and unfortunately the momentum indicators are not. So there's lots and lots of warning signs here that this market's a little dangerous. Of course, we run a proprietary algorithm that is actually flashing major warning signs right now, but we don't really... It's kind of like the rules of Fight Club. It's so proprietary, it's so secretive that we don't even really like to talk about it in the public. So just be aware. If you want to come and learn, we have a pro membership package where you can get access to the algorithm. And the team has put together all the statistics to prove that the algo does very, very well. And we also trade the stock market with the algo. And in fact, actually, there's the TRI team. Our CTO, Sjord. And Sjord, oh my goodness, like it's always handy to have us basically a computer expert on the team. He is our CTO, Chief Technical Officer. I don't know. Anyway, Chief Bottle
Technology
Washer.
officer.
He's the one who actually basically built this site and all the engine and stuff behind it. And of course, some of his ideas recently. Oh my goodness. So if you had the chance, I think we were. I don't know whether we were touting the idea of Ruin to this audience, but this was one of his favorite names recently, and of course, it's gone absolutely crazy.
Go to Kraken, I'd say.
Yeah, actually, but I just want to show it versus currency. I guess that's what I wanted to do. There you go. We can show Binance. That's fine. But I don't know. You tell me. Would anybody who had participated in this name, how do you think they're feeling right now?
Yeah.
So there's one of Sjord's names, and then another one that's gone absolutely crazy is Hello. I don't even know if you're familiar with this one or not. But look at this crazy one. I mean, and this is why it's so important to do good fundamental analysis. Because good fundamentals, what do you call an idea that has good fundamentals and good technicals behind it?
A rational investment.
And you tell me, I mean, would you be a happy camper if you picked up some of that? I mean, gee whiz.
Bottom dollar, I would be.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can clearly see where the technical levels are. Anyway, so the point is, these were a couple of Sjord's ideas here recently, so everybody at TRI is very, very happy campers, to say the least. Our CTO is rocking it. So anyway, if you want to learn a little bit more about TRI, come on over to the site. This is sort of our front page, sort of marketing platform, and then, of course, just like almost all sites nowadays, right? In fact, I think you guys, yeah, so isn't it interesting? They've all changed to this app dot. So like this is like the actual application, and then you have like a front page with all the marketing. And actually, a question that I had for you, and we had a little hard time finding this the other day. Where are those tutorials that we did? Are they anywhere actually on the site?
So we have an issue put in to have that fully implemented on one of these pages. It's not there yet, but you can get to our YouTube page from there.
For whatever it's worth, anybody who's watching this, and I suppose Coinigy users, it would be kind of handy to add this to your tool belt. I did go and maybe I can show you off of. Oh, actually, isn't that interesting? I'm not signed in here. Maybe I can just quickly show you this. But in our library, this is the app. The back end of the site. In our library, actually, we have a very detailed listing of all the Coinigy shows. And even here, we were kind of like, okay, where did we put these darn videos? Because I think we did a really, really good job of basically mapping out the Bitcoin path here over the past 6 months. These are the older ones, aren't they? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, those are. So what?
I have to remember where the heck I put these. Anyway, it's not the end. Actually, you know what? It might have been. Yeah, here it is. So these are the videos that I did for you guys: Fibonacci retracements, Fibonacci extensions, and then Foggenbaum and chaos theory. What was really interesting is at the end of this particular video, when was this done? This should have a date on it somewhere. You can see, what does that say? February 2023, eh? February 18th, I think that's something like that.
Yeah.
What's super cool about this is right at the end of the video, all of these, mind you, what is this? This isn't the video, is it? This must be a link to the actual file.
Yeah, I think so. That's what it looks like.
Right. I'm not quite sure what the heck I've done here. But when I did go through these with the team the other day, isn't that interesting? So that's just a file. That's not the actual link to the video.
Well, if you click on the video, it might be.
Maybe. Oh yeah, there we go. All right. Yeah. And right at the end of the video, I actually sort of summarized everything
previously. Just
so isn't this cool? Like, this is your website. I did these videos for you, and just this is the Head and Shoulders that was breaking out. But by the end of the video, when we put everything all together, we had a whole bunch of really cool confluence of levels that actually is exactly where we are today. I mean, it's freaky how
That
all of
is.
these predictions all basically, this is exactly what happened. It's absolutely freaky. So do yourself a favor and go watch that video, everybody who's watching us. And I don't know where, I mean, I suppose I could share that link with you, but I don't know how you can find it on the Coinigy site. But I mean, absolutely perfect. I couldn't have planned a tutorial series and sort of a prediction of what was going to happen kind of idea. I couldn't have planned it any better. It
No.
was just so textbook. Oops, what the heck am I doing here? BTC/USD. Why don't we just do USD? Let's do a fresh chart just so you can see all this without all the squiggly lines and stuff on it.
Yeah.
First and foremost, that video, you saw the beginning part of it, the extensions part of the video. Now let's put all this stuff away for now. And that was just a conversation about inverted head and shoulders. So boom, 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 boom. And the extension is nothing more, and this is my parking garage concept. So there to there, and then we will throw on the 200% extension of that range, and then like 1.618. Whoops, where's 1.618? There it is. Then we'll flip that around.
The parking garage is 1.618 to 2.
Right. So you can see that's basically what's happened here, right? Isn't that pretty? So that was the extensions part of that lecture. And I think on balance that head and shoulders played out, and you can use this on any asset. We also had the Fibonacci retracements, and what did we say was the sort of the first Fibonacci level that you should always have in the back of your mind? Markets should always sort of bounce back to those levels, and then you decide whether a trend is actually for real or not.
You got your first stop target and then the 50%.
All right, first stop target 38.2 fib. So in that lecture, we pointed out that the 38.2 of this entire range was that level as well. So that was a very realistic level for this market to trade to. And I might make the argument that these, especially this clothesline level right there, because keep in mind, a lot of institutional people, they don't look at all these candlesticks and stuff. All they do is look at things like clotheslines. So can you see how, what letter of the alphabet does this make? Up, down, up, fail.
M.
Right. So this becomes a huge level. It's almost like a magnet for institutional people. So what a coincidence. That happens to be basically the 38.2. And sure enough, doink, hit. It's incredible. And then to add insult to injury, I don't know if that's the right term, but just sort of the coup de grace, the icing on the cake, whatever you want to call it. We did a third video tutorial series for you on chaos theory and what would be realistic price objectives if you get a chaos theory sort of signal validation. Let's
which one, like what numerical ones? Like the chaos theory is 2.618.
Well, the levels, and keep in mind, they move in sequence, right? Because what it is it's, actually had a really cool conversation in our daily brief about this. Think of chaos theory as like an initial burst of energy, right? Like maybe this is the trend. We were looking at Link, right? And so you can think of the market resolving a W as this is this burst of energy. Right, so we're bursting out. We were in a trading range. We break the double bottom, and we have this burst of energy. Is that, or maybe you could say like the release of energy. Does that make sense? So if we look at this on a logarithmic scale, actually the burst of energy kind of looks something like this. And then what happens is you sort of get to a point where that burst of energy has sort of exhausted itself, and then it has a choice. Does it reverse that initial burst or does it continue? And so quite literally, you can do a replication of this, both going up and going down. You see how that works?
Yes.
And they call this the bifurcation.
Yes, sir.
And in essence, this just keeps happening over and over time. It will just keep bifurcating as it sort of gets through the energy wave. There's probably a better way to describe it.
No,
So
honestly, this has been like the best just like visual description of drawing you've had for showing me about chaos theory's bifurcation.
cool. So
That actually
think of
clicks.
this as like 2 point, and this is my terrible writing on the screen, 2.618.
Yes.
And then you could argue this is like 4.669. And then you could argue this is 877. So it's important to remember the specific numbers, but also to try and think of this as moving in sort of stair steps. And quite often, like if this is 100% right here, that's 100. Terrible, I know. And this is that 100 level, the double bottom breakout. Quite often, if this rally actually is nonsense, and it's terrible number drawing here, but if this move isn't for real, then what'll end up happening is the market will trade up to that 2.618 and then melt right back down to the original breakout level. And what did we call this? Do you remember what we called this? If you have like a W here and it breaks out here, we give this a very specific name. If the market comes back and hint, here's the answer. The market checks this original level. Remember what we call that?
Checks. I feel like that's where your hint was.
Check.
You gotta help me out here.
We call this a Wyckoff check.
Wyckoff check. Yeah.
So mathematically, if you think of the bifurcation, think of it this way. So we come back down to the 1.0, we check the original breakout, and if it's still a bull, then it'll go right back up, and then it'll do the bifurcation up to 4.669 or back down to here, and this just repeats at infinity, right? So if you actually look at the Fibonacci bifurcation, you're going to see this image, you're going to go, okay, I think I get what he's talking about, but this is actually the actual math. So can you see our bifurcations here as we move along? So there's the first trend. There's your 2.618. Then it bifurcates up or bifurcates down. Then you have 4.669. Then it bifurcates up or bifurcates down, et cetera, et cetera. And then we actually get to a point when you hit like 877s where it just gets absolutely chaotic. And the original trend, whatever this was, it gets like diluted because, there's people taking profits. There's people that maybe are thinking about shorting. There's lawsuits flying, whatever, so it literally turns chaotic. So can you see that description that I gave you in this image?
I do.
Yeah. So anyway, there you go. Chaos Theory 101 crash course. What I wanted to show you was, again, and I'm a big fan of confluence of levels. So if you see it, like what I want to do if I'm thinking about taking a trade is I want to see, and actually maybe you can help me out here. How many reasons do I want to have to actually justify doing something in the market?
3 reasons to
at least.
Yes.
Right? So what's interesting about chaos theory is you can see I put 2.618, 4.669, 877, 16.22. These numbers get a little bit crazy up top here. I don't have the exact numbers, but we've just been using 16 and change. There's probably a better number to use. But check this out. So remember we said 38.2 was up here. 200% was the parking garage. And oh, lo and behold, look at where 877 is.
Right where we're at.
So we've got literally 3 different confluence levels. We got 200%, the head and shoulders target. We've got 38.2, first stop target, and Colin and his pump chasers, and that was what I was talking about there a moment ago. Does it look like my camera has frozen now, eh? Oh, isn't that a shame? Anyway, where's Adam? Adam, how does it look over there on YouTube? Do I look frozen? Where is this video? Adam Constantine says, here we go.
Yeah, it does look a little frozen.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to I will maybe how are we gonna do this? I wonder why let's go here. Then we will go here. All right, that changes that. Then let's go back there and let's see if that's gonna work. It almost looks like the camera turned itself off.
Interesting.
All right, have we got a Mercury retrograde going here? Anyway, just give me a second. I'll turn the camera back on. I don't know whether are you familiar with Mercury retrogrades?
No, sir.
Computers go all screwy whenever we have a Mercury retrograde. Okay, all right. Looks like
okay, you're back on. There we go.
Looks like I'm back.
We'll wrap up on this and get moving on to some.
Yeah, right. We got to quit with the long-winded responses, Beamish. So, but the point is go watch the video that I did for you guys, and I walked you through. Pardon me?
I'll put it in the description.
Definitely. And I walked through and painted these 3 technical targets back last February. So that was right in here. We painted all of those technical targets, and sure enough, basically we've hit them. Now, the problem here, and maybe I'll just get rid of all the drawings. Now, you tell me, based on these indicators, is MACD going to new highs here on this move?
Sorry, I was getting the link ready, so I was going to post it in there.
Actually, this chart doesn't look too bad. You know? I don't see any divergence yet. RSI actually on the weekly chart doesn't look bad, but it is technically getting overbought, so be careful there, folks. And the weekly, Willie's actually not stupid yet, so we still got some room to run here. That doesn't actually look too bad. Let's see what the daily looks like. Oh boy, now this is bothersome.
Yeah.
Can you remember our conversation about volume impetus?
Yes.
And you know, probably to get actually properly schooled at this, you probably need to take our education program.
I agree.
But I do think that we have sort of one high here. Looks like this high is actually slightly higher than this high. So what is that? That's 7,800 and that's 7,780. Yeah, so that is a new high. And those two put together also probably are a new high. Then we have a lower high here. And then we have a lower high here. So yes, the market is moving to new highs in price, but this is problematic. If we get a up volume bar that trades less than this number here, and you can write this down and follow yourself, anybody watching this, that number is 1,617 coins. So if we get a day where we do, and this is a daily price chart, if we do a day less than that 1,600, then that tells me that the bulls have fallen asleep, and that's a major warning sign. MACD, we don't actually have an M here, which is a bit scary, because we will have some sort of push up here, and then if we roll over, you can see we're clearly making higher highs in price. But MACD momentum is not making higher highs. That's dangerous. And RSI is in full-blown overbought, and it does have this M top working, and Willie is stupidly overbought. Very rarely do we ever see Williams percentage R get up and actually hit 0. And right now it's at minus 3.2773. It just doesn't have a hell of a lot more room to go here. So there's tons of internal warning signs that this is the end of the move. The interesting thing with the ends of these moves, though, is usually, especially with Bitcoin, it usually can't finish the move without some huge, horrendous orgy type kind of event. So be prepared. I mean, first and foremost, Joe, and you've been working with me long enough. Do you think there's any way in hell I can justify coming in and buying Bitcoins here?
No, sir.
Yeah, yes, it's making higher highs and higher lows. And if you're a lower time frame trader, like I showed you earlier, 1 hour, 4 hour charts, all right, you're trading your setups and fine, you're still long. But be prepared. If we get any kind of ammon price up here, oh boy. And if we just use exactly what you said earlier, what should be sort of your knee-jerk first stop that this thing should pull back to?
50%.
Well, 38.2 to
38.2. Sorry.
50%, probably in that window somewhere in there. Think Colin, remember Colin, right? Colin, now you can actually put a name to a face.
Face, yeah.
So there is Colin, and he's dancing. Oh, where did that picture go? I thought it was on. Oh, actually, this was on the front page. He's probably. Oh, yeah, he's in there. There he is, right there.
Yeah.
So, and actually, he's probably in this image too. We love Colin muchly. Anyway, there is Colin right there. Now you can think that's him and his pump chasers. So if we were thinking like pullback, where should we think about this thing to, pull back? Maybe, pullbacks are buying opportunities. Maybe think of it that way. I could easily see Bitcoin easily pull back to somewhere around 30,000 to 31,000. And then also too, we just talked about Wyckoff checks a moment ago. And the last time this thing actually really W'd out, I think, was this level right here. So if there was a quote-unquote Wyckoff check, I think it's back down into this area here. So this is starting to get pretty risky, folks. Just be forewarned. Certainly can't be a buyer, like an investor here. And ironically enough, there is your long-term trend line. That's basically flat. Oh boy, this has got a world of risk written all over it. So anyway, I do like this trend line tag here. Notice that also lines up nicely. Remember I had said earlier I'm a big fan of confluence of levels. Yeah. So, now I'm starting to see that, if we do get a pullback in earnest, this actually represents a pretty interesting window right in here. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on it. Only time will tell. And for investors, and it sucks because this is where I end up getting frustrated and angry, because when do you think the public is going to be most interested in investing in Bitcoin? Are they going to be interested down here
when it's
Wing out? Or are they going to be interested when this thing's going apeshit to the moon and Peter Fink's getting I think that's his name, Larry Fink, Peter Fink,
Larry
something
Fink.
like that. Larry, all right.
Gary Pink.
Well, I like that.
Voldemort, thou shalt not say his name.
Yeah, totally. Hey, and I was on social media, I was going, guy whose name rhymes with Dink. That's about the only way
Gary
I can say it. Anyway, he's going to get his ETF and everybody's going to be all rah, rah, rah. We love you. You're so awesome. And that's going to be the top of the market. Boom, done. Oh, well. So, we were talking earlier about fundamentals, and good old Stewart and his crazy fundamental ideas.
Do you think long-term that the BlackRock thing will be good for Bitcoin?
How do you define good?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a loaded word. That's kind of like, how do you define love?
Yeah.
Some people, there's so many connotations involved. At all times, I'm always asking remember, we're rational analysts. So what does that mean half of our conversation has to be? Aside from what the price is doing, if we're rational analysts, what do we have to sort of base our decisions off of? Fundamentals.
Fundamental, okay.
So when it comes to something like a commodity, how do you figure out what fundamental value is? So the answer I'm looking for there is things like cost of production.
Gotcha.
So could the BlackRock ETF, and keep in mind, looking at the previous cycle, we went through that sickness nonsense. And I can't even see it on here.
Let's say you might have to go.
We'll go back to stamp or something. Oh, there it is there. All right, well, it took time to load. We went from $3,000 Bitcoin in March of 2020 to $60,000 Bitcoin
Yeah,
in
that was
like a year and
a
a
wild
half.
time. That was a
So
wild time.
does that mean that Bitcoin's a good buy? And I'm not quite sure what's going on here. But does that mean Bitcoin's a good buy at 60,000? I would be pulling my hair out saying there's no fundamental value here at all. But
Mhm.
at like 40,000, then it hits 50,000, then it hits 60,000, and people are like, "Ryan, your fundamentals are a load of horseshit." So, but I have to have the patience and discipline just to sit and do nothing and wait for price to come back down to earth. We did trade down into the teens. I don't even know whether I believe Bitcoin has actually traded back to fundamental value. And of course, that's a very controversial conversation. A lot of people now are saying, well, Brian, where's your 20 grand Bitcoin? I'm waiting for 20 grand Bitcoin. But, I hope people can understand this. It's so important to understand this. We're not in the business of making predictions. I don't really give a shit about what you think's going to happen. I mean, no offense. I don't care what anybody thinks is going to happen. My old expression in this business is opinions are worthless. The
Mhm.
only thing that matters at the end of the day is, if you're here to make money from trading, is do you have sort of a set of rules that get you to behave, and you act on those rules, i.e., setups. So kind of like what I showed you with this inverted head and shoulders, the price objective was hit. If you were trading this inverted head and shoulders and that was in your trading plan and you didn't ring the register at least partially at this event, then I would have issue with you. I'd be like, you're a hypocrite. So I don't really like to get into the business of making predictions. I think that's kind of dangerous. Um,
Understandable.
and if anything, what I would say is you can kind of see how we were climbing straight up here last cycle. And then all of a sudden, and notice this happened to be the middle of the summer, we rolled over and then we actually bottomed out here into November, December, and we started to move up. And then we had another big thumping here. And, hopefully what everybody sees is, well, this in itself actually created a massive W. So on this event, all right, well, now you can start, I just went through the whole bifurcation thing with you. So now, on this event, we can start saying, all right, well, what's things like chaos theory levels suggesting? So, we just do something as simple as that. Oops, I don't know whether that's the right thing to click here. And I don't know whether this is my computer is slow.
I'm not sure.
But if we go boom, boom, oh, it looks like we're okay. 2.618, 4.669, and actually a guy that I used to do these videos with all the time, he basically said, well, on this breakout, I think it's a foregone conclusion that we're trading up to 50 Gs. Now, yes, this is an opinion, but also, too, it's based on, well, I'm going to buy the W, and I want to see like a 2-to-1 risk reward. So you could go, I'm going to buy that level there, going to risk to the bottom of the formation. Oops. Where's the bottom? There it is. And I want to see at least a 2-to-1 risk reward. 4.669 produced almost a 5-to-1 risk reward. Well, that's not so bad.
No
So
shit.
that is trading a setup, right? Actually, 3.5-to-1. And interestingly enough, at this event, the professionals are taking profits. Who do you think's buying up here?
People are sleeping on the couch.
Now, yeah, I suppose so, eh? But the public, the
Yeah.
public is, and keep in mind, this is like from February through to May. So that's like a 4 or 5 month window where
I'm
you have to
curious.
have the patience and discipline to say, look at, upside objectives have already been hit. I'm ringing the register. And now I just got to let all of you public kind of screw around, do your thing. And we got to wait for new setups to form for me to justify buying again.
I'm curious to see if some of these ones that the people have requested to see if it lines up with any of this, like the bigger dumps right here that you see at the like start of 2022. Um,
Okay, well, you know what? That's a perfect segue. let's put Bitcoin away for today. I think I've talked this thing into the ground. I think you have a pretty good idea what I'm thinking here.
Yes, sir.
And let's get on to the list. And you've got your stopwatch ready. How much time do we have left? How much time? Holy crap! Did I burn through in 50 minutes there?
We're good.
I'm sorry, everybody. I shouldn't have done that.
No worries at all. So, first one was actually requested by Mr. Adam. So, we'll start stopwatches. We'll give it 10 minutes and we'll just kind of see where we're at there. But it's
Okay.
CGLD.
CGLZ.
D as in David.
CDLZ.
CGLD.
CLD. So probably best to do like the police do, go like Charlie, George, Larry, David, or something like that.
Yes, sir. Will do. So,
all right, and we want to look at this versus Tether, I guess.
yes. Let me just see. Yeah, CGLD. That is. Just want to double check.
Okay. Let's see. Why is this? I don't know whether this is on my end. Like I noticed the ticker here is not moving.
You've got it paused. If you press that play button down there, it would keep going.
Oh, there
Right
it
next
goes.
to add favorite.
Okay, so let's try that again. CGLD. USD. Right, we've got all.
Looks like there's no connection issue on the Coinigy thing. You can see in that lower corner, it's green. It would be red if there was a connection.
Okay.
Adam says he was looking at versus USD on Coinbase.
All right.
Yeah.
So sometimes I like to load a couple of these windows so that we can just flip back and forth.
Yeah, here, I'll send you a link. It's loading up on my side here. Let's see which one's longer.
CGLD. Yeah, see,
There
this
we
one
go.
loaded fine.
The USD. There we go.
Versus Coinbase, eh?
Yes.
Down 703%. Wow, that's interesting.
That's right from, I don't know. It's all looking.
All right. There is the chart. So, and really, hopefully we get to the point. And is the stopwatch running? How much time do we have left?
Sure. Well, I was waiting until we started. We're going now.
Okay. I mean, just from a, we have one type of risk taker at TRI who is an old client base of mine. That people that don't want to get called about margin calls or anything like that. We call them the little old ladies.
Yes, sir.
So we'd always encourage people if they want to just nibble away, try and come in at the bottom of market. So you tell me, does that look like that's at the bottom of some sort of trading range?
I would say so.
Mm-hmm. So it is little old lady approved. This is a weekly chart that we're starting off with, so we can you can also see too. This is I like using these moving averages, and you can see this thing was going ape shit to the upside here, then it broke down, and it's been in this downtrend for quite a while now here. It looks like the trend tried desperately to turn back up, but then failed. And here we are trying to turn again. Of course, there is a very specific letter of the alphabet that's forming right there.
W.
So hopefully that's it's probably a usable level. If you just wanted to simply buy the W and then risk to a break of the lows. This is kind of a tricky one because there's actually like 4 different lows here. That low, that low, that low, that low. And the problem with it probably isn't so bad on Coinbase, but especially some of the sketchy exchanges. They'll have guys like, remember I worked with that Bitterx website, and there were guys who were actually like literally just sharks that all they did was they just ran stops and all that kind of stuff. Just basically took people's money.
Yeah.
So you have to be cognizant of that. That's one of the main reasons why I like the little old lady approach is you don't even worry about getting stopped out. You're just buying in at the bottom end of the range, and it's a function of the amount of your portfolio, how much money you're going to put to work. Um,
No more than 5%.
yeah, well, I mean, I have two rules of investing, especially when I was a broker. Super important you always follow the rules. Number one, try and work with some sort of algo. You know, do you remember what was the statistical probability that double bottoms were going to hold? You remember? 60 to 70%. So, you know, my rule number one is try and work with an algo that spits out desirable results somewhere 60 to 70% of the time. If you can get 66%, then you're killing it. And ideally, we want to try and have like a 2-to-1 risk reward. Since there's a stopwatch running here, we're not going to do the quiz kind of thing. We're not going to wait for you to answer. If you don't say it right away, you don't get any marks.
No credit.
Point here is if I was trading this off of, in fact, actually, you know, I might even just risk against the double bottom itself. And shooting for 2-to-1 risk rewards, that would be like somewhere in that area there. And you can see this thing's well on its way to hitting that objective. And really all that is just releasing all of these trap bulls up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you hopefully what you also see is that this W right in here, that is contained within potentially an even bigger W. So what I think is probably going to happen here is there is a cute little trader's trade down in here. And then, and keep in mind, this is a weekly chart. So that's, you know, a bit longer time frame. If this W fires, then that might actually like be like a monthly W. Which is, you know, the higher time frame you go, the bigger the W's you see, the more significant the event is. So maybe a little bit splotchy, not quite a monthly W on clotheslines. Maybe 2 weeks. Maybe we'll see it there. Yeah, there it is. So down. Yep. What do we call these two bars when these two bars look like this?
The inside bar.
Yeah, so railroad tracks.
The railroad tracks.
Close.
Yep.
And this is not an inside bar because the wick's slightly above there. But you can see how they brought the market right back down against these lows and then put in this bottom, and away we go. So it does look like maybe they're trying to put in a higher time frame bottom. We could also say things like, do we get a W on the other side of this trend line? Because this high is slightly higher than that high, so I think I got to use that. And also, too, the market did go through that low, so that is technically a big M there. So for us to actually like be uber bullish about this, I think what you probably want to see is a pop-up through here that confirms this bigger W, then a pullback along the trend line, and can we get a W that comes in on the other side of this trend line? Now, if you're, this is like a 2-week chart, right? I mean, it only prints twice a month. If you are trading this, and I know Adam over there on YouTube, he's pretty slick trader. I think he knows his stuff. So, you know, if Adam told you that he was long off of this little W down in here, that wouldn't surprise me. And also, too, this bigger W. This is actually just what we saw out of Bitcoin. What kind of price pattern is this right here where we go that high to that high all the way down against those lows?
Oh, the cup and handle?
Yeah. So you can kind of see it. So, you know, from the trader's perspective, I think it's pretty obvious where this thing broke out. It was like right there. Cup and handle, double bottom. We can do fog and bomb off of this big double bottom as well. So there to there. Oh, look at that. Do you think that's an accident?
Nope.
So there you go, Adam. You know, your trader level, you were just told politely to take some profits. Now, did you? I don't know. That's up to you. You know, if you had put the profit objective there and traded this, I don't know whether that would have been the best level to get long off of that. That produces 1.57 to 1 risk reward. I mean, it's not terrible. It's not great. Even if you were just working that and we're like, Brian, I'm just going to leave my order at this 200%. I think the odds are we're probably going to work our way up into that area. Like we said, that's basically. Can you see how this event here, all these trap bulls in this wick right up top here, as soon as we got into that level, they were like, oh, phew, get me the hell out of there. So you can see where the bottom is, and I think you know this, Adam. I might suggest, yeah, okay, that works. I would have liked to, had drawn this originally and had this 2.618 floating out here, and maybe taken some profits into that event. I would have, just even up in that area, like we said, 1.6, 1.57 to 1 risk reward kind of idea. What do you think the odds are there's a bearish divergence on the push to new highs here? I think it's probably pretty good.
Pretty high.
So you can see the volume here on this push to new high was kind of nowhere as high as that. Actually, this isn't bad. MACD actually pushed to new highs here on this push to new high. So I would actually, believe it or not, I would expect another push up, make a new high, and the MACD does not make a new high, and there's your div. Same thing on RSI. There's no div here yet. Willie, briefly, no, actually, Willie never did get stupid there. So, maybe if you're lucky, Adam, you still get another push up top here to get that 2 to 1. I would like, if I was sitting there with you and you saw this big pop here and you were doing this on leverage or margin or something like that, I would have liked to have heard that you were taking some profits here. And actually, I even scolded our audience on the site today. For God's sakes, you better be taking some profits. This job is hard enough. For God's sakes, pay yourself. And you'd be surprised how many millionaires that I knew in 2017 and 2020, 2021 that were no longer millionaires by time the end of 2018 and the end of 2022 came along. So it's pathetic. But it's just the function of human greed. And hopefully what you hear from me is I don't really trade off of emotions. I try to get emotions completely out of this equation. And if I can see a level like that and it's so bloody blatant, I would be like, we got to take something off the table here. Or if you're doing like the little old lady approach and you're like, well, I'll sell half on a double and get out of my face. Well, then the buy level there, if you did buy that at 48, well, you're not selling any for quite a while. In fact, interesting, look how the 4669 is actually up into that sort of sell half on a double level. Now, the interesting thing about that is if that does happen, then you're going to have an even bigger W fire here. And you might be selling halves on doubles.
Your alarm, Brian.
Huh? Uh-oh. All right. Well, that's it, Adam.
No.
Hope you got your some value. I'll finish off this with, remember that downtrend line? Right? Well, if this is really a bull, we want to see a W on the upside of this trend line here. But we can't talk any more about it. On to the next one.
But I mean, you can still talk about it. I think it's just to keep us honest.
I don't know. I think I said my piece.
All right. Then CAS. K-A-S.
All right. K-A-S.
To USDT.
USDT. All right. And where are we looking at this thing?
KuCoin or
trade? What the hell is this? Trade Ogre?
Yeah.
Hey, there's a brand new exchange. Jeez. Every cycle. And I'm surprised they don't call themselves I'm the next SPF exchange.
So go to KuCoin. I think that's one we want.
But, if anything, it's hilarious because the Koreans, they just love to gamble. All right. Well, I mean,
I already have my initial thoughts on this.
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm going to say here.
Yeah, don't chase.
The issue here is you should be able to look at this chart. And actually, I see 3 different events that if you were just patient and disciplined and wait for the tight little W's, you got absolutely fantastic trade entries. But nothing right here. So I'm
It,
sorry whoever asked this. There's no way in hell you can buy that.
yep.
That's just asking for trouble.
Fair enough.
Where would I be interested? I really like this little W right here. I don't know whether you can see that or not. It's
I
so
can.
small. And this is actually a good example of W's within W's. So you want to know where the bottom is. It was right there. So, do yourself a favor and next time you give us a symbol to look at, just make sure the chart looks like this. And then
Yeah.
I'll be like, holy shit, we got to pause the show here, Joe. I got to go do some business.
Yeah. Well,
But with
I did
the
look on some of these too. We do have some little old ladies in these next couple ones.
All right. So, this is everything that we sort of teach. We want to see W's on other sides of trend lines. Can you see the W on the other side of this trend line here? Really
Yes,
good
I
example
can.
of that.
Yes.
Nice bullish moving average cross. Can you see the bullish moving average cross there?
Yes, sir.
So already one reason, W in price, two reason, bullish moving average cross, three reasons. We haven't even looked at the indicators, and I can already see that that was an incredible buy right there. I think you could probably also see another incredible buy window right. This one actually was very steep, but right here. You see that W down in there? And
Yeah,
again, that's a W within a W.
it is.
So if you can, now hopefully you notice that, hey, there's a bit of a trend here. So one lows, two lows, three lows. Brian, doesn't he have some sort of trade setup that needs three higher lows, something like that?
Does.
So same sort of thing, one low, two lows. I don't know whether we got a third low on this one, but this one I think is actually even a better signal. So beautiful double bottom there. So I'm more than happy to buy there. I didn't quite have the moving average cross. That came in a little bit later, but we definitely broke that down trend line. So I definitely like entries there. And also, too, if you hunt these little trade windows, then by definition, this frames risk. So that's the risk that I have to take if I go and buy that W. Maybe a risk there, maybe a risk there. Tough to say. But, just ideally, we want to try and pay ourselves 2-to-1 risk rewards. And if you just sell half and then move your stop to scratch on the remaining, which is usually what I like to do in futures land when I'm day trading futures, because you're not going to double the price of crude oil. That's just not going to happen. So, something along the lines that, anyway, you get the idea. 2-to-1.
Yeah.
So you buy there, you're going to pay yourself a bit here, move your stop to scratch, and you would still be long this thing, wouldn't you, off of this, the other half, right?
Yes, sir.
Nothing wrong with that shit. And then I can see another double bottom came in right here. Look at that pretty little W there, right? So this one didn't quite have a trend line break, so this one would have a little bit more aggressive. Ironically enough, the W, what do you think the odds are 2-to-1 off of that W is right into that level?
Probably pretty high.
Yeah. So this is, again, great part about this is if you are actively watching these videos and you are taking notes and you're working really hard, I think that you could, there was another guy on the Sunday YouTube shows. And also I used to do these shows with site members 6, 8, 12, 14, 16, 18 months ago. But that's not a bad setup there. I don't know how accurate that is. That might be a little bit off, but nonetheless, pops up into these areas. Maybe look to pay yourself a little bit up against that trend line. It's a tough one. But I definitely like that W in there. The only issue here is, buying this level way up here.
Yeah.
We are coming awfully late to the party again, If anything, once you're up into here, what I would want to do is, you can clearly see where the bottom is. In fact, actually, what we ought to do for fun is off of this bottom, do fog and bombs. So this rally peak up here, that makes sense. That's basically the fight at the 4669. And remember we talked about the bifurcation there earlier? This is a really good example of this. So you can see the market didn't really even, wasn't even really that interested in 2.618. We did have this level here. And then notice these lows. Do you see how this low here dipped right into 2.618 there?
Yeah.
So I think what happened here is it sort of like that. You know, there's the bifurcation. Do we crap out or do we go up? We went up. Now, at this point, do we have to come all the way back down? And remember, stop at scratch. That's why you do the stop at scratch. Sometimes, you know, when what did we call this event where if markets have to come back down and test the original breakout, we call that the
That wouldn't be the
Wyckoff check. Way to
check.
go.
Oh, that's throwing me off
Right.
twice now today.
So the point here is, you know, bifurcation wise, maybe we do that. But in this case, notice, oh, no. Actually, that's not a very good curve. Let's try that again. Up there, we went up into 4669. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
So notice here, we had to come back down to 2.618. And oh, look at that, right at the basically the 2.618. Look how it put in a W there. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
So what I think is going to happen here is it looks like we worked our way back up to 4669 area. That's quite a bit of chaos in that level. And notice we resolved higher. So I actually think that the next stop, where's the next stop? You tell me, where's the next stop on this?
That would be, what is that? The 877.
All right, so let's see where the hell that is. All right, that's all the way up here.
There we
So
go.
up into here, and that is what I think's probably got the market's attention now.
It makes sense.
So, you know, you could have drawn these flogging bombs and said, okay, well, if I get bullish resolution through these levels, I'll take these trades as we go kind of idea. And, you know, off of here, maybe I'm shooting for this 877. I think we don't really have much data
There's
here. It'd
the
be
alarm.
interesting to see if there was any old history somewhere on other exchanges and stuff like that. If this thing's just right out of the gate, brand new, well, I would probably at this point be saying, you know, I'm a cheap ass, and this kind of feels nosebleedy. Let's, you know, first off, at any given point in time, we should expect those 38.2s and 50% retracements. What do you think the odds are that Collins' dump chaser, in this case, pump chaser zone, is going to be right against these old highs?
Probably pretty high there. I could see that lining up.
Yeah. You're going to load for us?
That's it. If not, our alarm did go off for.
Are we done?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Well, let's see it quick.
All right. So if I was looking for a consolidation here, then it's probably something along the lines of 38.2 to 50%. And sure enough, look at that. In fact, actually, that's backwards.
Yep.
So
there we go.
we'll reverse that. So I could see a pullback right into these moving averages, which would make sense. And also, too, you can also think of this as, what did we call that when the market, when the market breaks out and then comes back and asks whether it really wants to be a bull against structural levels. What do we call that?
I got Wyckoff.
Yeah, so Wyckoff
there we go.
check.
3 times the charm, baby.
So you can kind of see that if there is going to be a pullback and I want to hunt for another one of these cute little W entry kind of things, it should be somewhere down in this area here. And if anything, this makes sense because, you know, I mean, does this not look like the market's going parabolic? Look at what RSI is. RSI is at 87.93. Is Willie stupidly overbought?
Yes, sir.
With Willie stupidly overbought, my phone is ringing off the hook. The public wants to buy this thing, and I have to somehow convince them that that's maybe not a good idea.
No, sir.
Anyway, hopefully that gives you some food for thought there and some levels to work with.
Thank you. We got one for Decred or DCR/USDT. This was
David,
What is it?
Charlie,
Charlie
Robert.
Robert. Yes, sir.
All right, and versus Tether. I don't know. Where's the USD? What do we want to do here?
Yeah. Let's see. Let it load up here.
All right.
Going slow for now. Do, 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 do.
Maybe let's go back over here. Maybe it'll load on this one. DCR USDT. Oh, there it is. How bizarre how quickly it loads on one versus the other.
Yeah.
Now, where do we want to look at this?
Finance.
Do we want to do it versus Tether?
Yeah. Let's see it.
All right. Hey, there we go. Jesus Christ. I mean, it's so funny looking at this. You know, like I spend most of my time, you know, just that last one that we looked at going, you're not allowed to chase. That last one, its future is going to look like this.
Yeah. But hey, as you say, Brian's a cheap ass and likes it when it looks like this.
Yeah, I mean that's the irony of it all, right? Is I like those hookers standing by the freeway, you know. Wait a minute, how the hell did that get in there? This is why Coca-Cola never sponsors me, because I say stupid things like that. So can I mean you should be able to answer this. Can little old ladies come in and start nibbling away on a name like this?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Yes. In fact, you could have been nibbling away here this entire past year. You know what this looks like? This looks like when we talked about Link.
Yes, sir.
You know, like when I first talked to you about Link, I was like, well, you know, the longer the channel, the bigger the run. At some point, the damn thing's going to go. So keep your eyes peeled. Now, the question here is,
what's causing?
Pardon me?
My thought is, all right, what's causing it?
What's causing it?
Yeah, like the long channel. If like something happened on that dump, or if it was just too parabolic of a spike that caused.
Well, Decred's kind of a funny creature. You know, like there are, you know, remember we had that Loom recently? I won't get too far off, but you know, Loom's another one, a good example of actually I don't even know what this is.
You have Loom-er. You have an R at the end of Loom.
You know, is Loom actually doing anything to reinvent the wheel? I don't know. But, you know, when you're down here like this, remember, dead cat bounces can pop up anywhere.
Yeah.
But the key here is what letter of the alphabet is that? Right down there.
That is a W.
Yeah. So what we really want to see out of Decred to see sort of the same sort of thing. And if we looked at Loom on other exchanges and other quotes, well, there's plenty of history. It would look like this too.
DCR was my bread and butter last cycle.
Well, hell, if you rode this bull market, it'll be my bread and butter too.
Yeah, be my bread.
I mean, look at that. That I mean, can you see this? Can you see this little weekly W right here? You see that?
Yeah.
Like this is what I'm trying to teach you guys.
Parabolic.
Right? Down, up, down. In fact, actually, this one even went down, up, down in there. And I mean, what is that? That's like, you know, $14. So if you went and, you know, I'm going to either A, give the University of Big Fat Know-It-Alls $10,000 to go and take one of their courses, or I'm going to go and put $10,000 into this Decred, which would have paid off a better return for you.
I'd say that one.
I mean, what would $10,000 at 140? This would be at this level here. That would be 100 G's right there.
Yeah, then you
can live pretty good on 100 G's for a few years, eh?
Yeah.
And that wasn't even the top.
Profit. You gotta sell half on a double.
The top was another $100 higher. So your $10,000 invested turned into what? A ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
So I can understand why it was your bread and butter, but at the same time too, whoever asking about this, I sure as hell hope you respected this big ass ugly smile up there.
Yeah, when it starts smiling at you, it wants to take your money,
especially off of things like weekly price charts, right? And what do you think the odds are you got momentum divergence as we were pressing up here? I'd say probably pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at RSI just
Well, let's
melting down
see
here.
how we're looking
All right.
nowadays for
Yeah, well, I
yeah,
can tell you, I don't think we've quite W'd yet, but I think she's trying to. And, obviously, we as good technicians, we want to keep our eyes peeled, right?
mm-hmm.
So, you see that we had a kilo there. It looks like they tried to put in like a test of the lows and then turn it back up, and something rejected it hard here. That was back in September, so I don't know what happened in crypto land in September, but clearly it was rejected hard there, and they actually pushed it to new lows. So, since we've been pushed to new lows, do we have any signs of W's here yet?
No.
All right. So notice how they pushed it to new lows here. They rallied it up, and this low is like $12, and it went all the way up to 19 bucks. You might see that kind of move. But at the same time, too, because this was a V, at some point we've got to roll back over and come back down and test the bottom. So, yeah, I mean, if anything, on a clothesline basis, they're definitely telling you where, quote unquote, the floor is, right? I mean, there's most definitely a very serious sort of value floor, and that's around 12 bucks. And last
Okay.
cycle, is that about the same level that it bottomed before? Well, gee whiz, look at that, eh? So I don't think this is an accident. Clearly, there is some sort of value on this coin. It'd be interesting to see the, what do they call it? The coinomics, or I don't know. They have some funny name for what the sort of the monetary. I don't know. Is this POW? Is it POS? I don't know.
Oh yeah.
So
And
anyway, all that kind of stuff. So little old ladies, no problem. You want to go and nibble away here at your heart's content, but just understand, you can see we tried to W here before, but we failed. If anything, I think you've heard me talk about saucer bottoms in the past.
we have
So my hunch is this probably is going to look like some sort of saucer. That's probably the beginning of it. It probably goes all the way through there. And, you see the size of these wicks and these little junior, Schult coins. They like to do this. And if anything, given the fact that we're coming into the end of a run, I wouldn't be surprised that the end of this move has some sort of horrendous wick in it. It does look to me like that's resistance, and that's resistance, and that's resistance, and that's resistance. Can you kind of see how up in this area, probably going to run into a brick wall? All these guys sleeping on the couch, they want to get off the couch, right?
yeah.
So, and probably also too, if we do things like fibs off of these lows, where are 50% rules and that kind of stuff. That's a nice handy little gauge. This is just WD GAN. Notice candle body highs. You probably hear Brian talk about candle body highs for trade locations. So I could see pops up to there. So, I mean, that's like 40 bucks. So don't be shocked if there is some sort of rally up into that level. And little old ladies nibbling away. If you do get this like a 1-2 days to a week spike, then okay, awesome. But my hunch is this thing's not quote unquote trending higher until we actually go and W out on the other side of this trend line. And notice this, right? Boom, boom. Those are pretty important levels. Look how the market rallied up to that and then was rejected off of it. So we have broken through the trend line. That's a good sign. Now, can I please have some sort of W, right? Can I please have a W? I don't see a W yet. And if anything, thinking saucer bottoms, this almost looks like a saucer unto itself. So this is kind of like shoulder, neckline, head, neckline, shoulder, breakout. That's what I would be thinking. So there's your playground, especially that big wick right up here and these wicks. I think that's probably a pretty good sort of horizontal support and resistance level. This is probably going to be a reload zone pullback into these lows. Might be an idea if you are serious about this. hunting for levels off of here. Are there any price gaps along here to keep an eye out for? We could do a fib off of this range from that high to that low and do things like reload zones. That's probably keep you honest. 78.6, Brian's favorite fib. This is venture cap, so if you want to do the venture cap reload zone, fine by me. So 88.6 is right there.
There we go.
So that, again, interesting how we had pointed out that these seem to be some important historical levels. I think that's where you want to be long, somewhere around 12 bucks, let's say. Notice this huge tail right here. Wicks and tails like to be eaten. And of course, there's a bunch of trapped bears in there. So if price does come down into there, then the bears will want to get the hell out. And I guess the last thing I would ask, we haven't really looked at momentum here. But what I would just simply say, since we're not at a good trade level, always start with levels. And then once we get into the levels, then you start pulling up your momentum indicators and stuff, looking for divergence. But notice there's a price gap there. So that gap needs to be filled in. And then, like we said, this big tail. So, my hunch is this is probably 61.8. Let's see where 61.8 is right there. Oh, look at that. Yeah, that's pretty good guess.
Yeah.
So you can see anywhere in this sort of low 12s to $13 area, that's probably value on a name like this.
Beautiful.
You want to really be slick in your timing. Let the market work its way back down into this, into this level, and then see if we can start seeing things like momentum divergences developing off of this move here, where you look down at your indicators and they are not making lower lows, right? So they're looking like that. And then can we get a W to actually frame the entry? I gotta say, like that last, that Korean coin that we were looking at, they had some really textbook, beautiful little W's to work with. So if you want to use that chart as sort of what do good looking little trade W's look like, that was a really good example.
KAS for that one. But that was our alarm going off there.
All right, fuck man, I'm working my ass off here tonight.
I'm sorry.
How much do I get paid for all this?
Not enough.
And probably a good time for a shameless plug. If you want to learn step by step how to build a plan, how to identify all of this yourselves, we do have Black Friday deals and stuff coming up here at the end of November. I would strongly suggest that you take advantage of our ridiculously cheap education program. I think this is like $1,000 or something, and there'll even be like a Black Friday discount. I can't tell you how many people have taken. We've been teaching this damn thing for 10 years now. And, the testimonials that we have from people are just over the top positive, including actually a lot of people. Hey, look at that, 60K in debt to putting millions out of the market. Love to hear that. Just like that the DGB that we saw, now you can see illustration-wise, if you time these purchases correctly and buy at the bottom end of the range and then let the market go crazy, seeing a headline like pulling 200K out of the market, you saw that coin. We talked about it, 10 G's into 100 whatever G's. It's not that difficult, but maybe you can't. You can't do it because you've never been taught. And really, that's what the whole school program and the whole education program is to formally teach you how to do this. And I gotta say, the team has put together, these web pages are actually looking very, very professional now. So Indeed. The team has come a long way. Anyway, so there's a shameless plug. That's my payment for doing all this. All right, next coin. Here we go.
Keep it up. Yeah, we love having you on here and always value your opinion. And I know everyone out here in the chat truly appreciates you.
Oh, that's always a oh, that's good to hear. All right, we got a half an hour left. Are we how far?
So let's take a look at O as in Oscar, G N.
OGN as in Nancy?
Yes, as in Nancy. And then to USDT, And then I would click on the Hobie Pro, the second last one that had the most
Hobie.
data. Had the most data going far enough back on that one
All
on
right.
the weekly.
Well, holy jeez. So this guy, again, like this is what I was worried about. Like if we actually still have this one on the screen, is if you go and buy something like this, I mean, you don't know if this is the top or it goes up another 5x, 10x, or you just don't know. It's a total gamble. But this is sort of like, you're buying in here. And then you might, I mean, worst case scenario, you're buying in here, you might have to sit there and go through this shit. And that's a
Yeah,
nightmare to have to go
you're
through.
sleeping on the couch for
Yeah,
a
a
while.
long time. So, first and foremost, looking at this idea, do you think we get the little old lady seal of approval?
Indeed, but when I zoomed in on a weekly, it was a little more enticing with seeing.
All right. So, as we have been talking quite a bit tonight, and I would highly encourage everybody to start off with weekly W. So, hopefully, everybody can see it plain as day. Down, up, down, test the lows. Do not break the lows, turn back up, and woohoo! There's another one of those life changing events 10x.
Yeah,
Put 10 G's in, take 100 grand out. Merry Christmas. Um, so the question is, does that look like that now? Oh, interesting.
yeah,
There's a big fat W.
yes, sir.
So it does mean,
Waiting for
though,
that.
buying at 14, you got to risk all the way down to 6. So it is quite a bit of risk. There's no doubt about that.
Uh-huh.
Like if you put that 10 G's in, this thing doesn't work. Are you okay with only taking 3 or 4 thousand out and walking away? A lot of people can't do that. So that's half the reason why I do like to do the little old lady program. Like I said, it's designed that you if this idea just doesn't work, then you're just gonna ride it into the ground, and it doesn't kill your portfolio. So the point here is we do have W's. If you did want to just go and buy some of this, okay, fine. Just take appropriate risk. You know how the game goes.
Yes, sir.
Um, I would even say something like, well, maybe it's an idea. Actually, here, let's flip this around. Actually, we can do that pretty easily, right? If we just go in here and
And
go
just
reverse,
reverse.
boosh. There we go. So Brian's a cheap ass. Where would Brian be willing to step in on this thing?
And the reload.
Interesting how we did come down and we did trade into the classic reload zone there.
Yeah.
If you had just placed an order, say at Mountain Man, that would be 11 cents. So risk down to the bottom is 6. So is there a risk taker in our education program, Brian's retail client base? Is there a risk taker that could handle a 50% drawdown of capital because that's basically their risk model? I'm going to
Yeah.
risk 50% of my money on this trade.
Yes.
Yeah, if I ask a question like that, probably the odds of the answer being yes are
Yes.
probably pretty good, eh?
Joe six pack.
Yeah, exactly. So this would actually be a very typical investment idea for a typical Joe six pack client of mine, where I want to participate, but I can only risk 50% of whatever the money it is I'm going to put in here. So you see the big run up. It confirms the weekly W. Yeah, at that point, as the market's running up, you just draw your reload zone, knowing full well you've got a risk against these lows, and you just have to wait for the market to come back down so that when you do buy it, it's not more than 50% risk of your money, right? And that was basically that event. And that's probably why this thing turned in here, is that probably guys said, well, if I risk 50% of my capital on this, what's the odds of even maybe getting a 2-to-1? I'd say probably pretty
Pretty
good.
high.
These guys here, they're probably going to stop the bull run. And then, of course, these guys, they all want desperately out, right? This pop-up here, it cleaned out all of these guys in here, eh? They're all gone now. So the next logical stop, if we just keep making higher highs and higher lows, is into that wick and then ultimately into that wick. So I think there's probably some money to be made here. We could also do things like fog and bombs because this W has been confirmed. We can start thinking about, all right, where's some logical upside objectives now? So 2.618, 4.669. We'll keep it at that for now. So interesting, 2.618 comes into this level. 4.669 comes into these wicks here. Maybe we should put 877 on here.
Might as well. Let's see.
Looks like I got
Down.
4669 here a couple times anyway.
Scroll-
Where is
Scroll
877?
down.
Is that it there? Hey, there we go.
Yep.
All right. Oh, interesting. So that's right up into the top of this wick right here. So
Yeah.
might be interesting also too.
It's actually like in the top of those two wicks, basically.
Yeah. So there's trap bulls in here, and there's even a few trap bulls in here. So
Yeah.
now the question would be, based on things like reload zones. In fact, here, why don't we just to save time, let's just clone this, and we will go up here, and we will go down here. So, do you see how 877 also is nicely
Isn't
into
that
that
venture
786, 886, that venture cap reload zone kind of idea?
Yes.
My hunch is that this is probably 38.2 to 50%. That wouldn't surprise me. So we can throw that on there, 50%, 38.2. Yeah, so you can see 4669 is basically going to be a fight against these wicks. And also, too, remember you heard me say earlier, market structure. Notice how this is a big M here. So I would imagine there's going to be some resistance against that low there. Guys who want to be short and maybe even have their open orders too short, but they never got filled on this dump. And then also, too, clotheslines. Notice that clothesline is right on that 61.8 level. So I can see levels here to justify the market heading up into here. I do kind of like that we stab up into Collins' dump chaser zone, release these trapped bulls here, 4669s, and then, the whole bifurcation conversation. Since this is the W, we either go up like that or down like that and wash out the lows, then up there or back down against the original bottom, and then if that catches up there or back down there, etc., etc. So I like this as an objective. And, like we said, if you had worked your stink bid there at 61.8, you're long from 11. This is 36. That's 42. Hell, even a 2.618 is 26. You're going to get a double there. So Joe Sixpack would be more than happy. We just, we picked it up at 61.8 there. And we're just going to work an open order to sell at that 2.618 right into these sort of candle body highs here in this area here. I like that thinking. That works.
I like it.
And, this is an interesting one where, you bought at 11, lets them go at 22, then maybe lets them go at 44, then maybe lets them go at 88, right? And you can just keep selling halves on doubles as this thing works its way higher. Or... and really, I don't care. It's entirely your temperament. As long as you get that risk-free trade-off, if you sold half at 22 and said, screw it. Let's go and download these coins onto a wallet or something, go bury it in the backyard, and I'm only going to sell when I see price work its way back up here into the multiple dollars. I don't have a problem with that.
I like that.
Yeah, so... it's just, if anything, it's almost a privilege to do these kind of shows now. Because, like I said, if we had been doing this show a year or so ago when I first got it going with the site people, and we're talking up here, kind of like this one here, I can't tell you that it's okay to buy that. Because you might just be walking into this shit, and then this has got lawsuit written all over it.
Yep.
Okay, 640. How are we doing? We probably could sneak in a couple more.
Yeah, and
But
doing
this is a
good.
pretty good looking idea. You know, you're heading in
I
the
like
right
it.
direction. Definitely heading
Cool.
in the right
And
direction.
then auction.
All right. You want to remember how I asked you to give me the symbol?
Okay, so A as in alpha,
Mm-hmm.
U as in ultra, C as in Charlie, T as in Terrence.
Terrence.
I don't know. I couldn't think of what it.
Nice and
uh,
simple. A is in
yeah,
apple. E is in or U is in uncle. C is in Charlie. T is in
and then
Tom. And then what? ION.
ION.
All right.
Yeah, I was first. I was like I as in idiot, igloo,
All right. Yeah, that works. O is in
and
Oscar.
then
N
to
is in Nancy.
USDT.
What do we want to look at this versus?
USDT, and then again
Tether.
on Huobi Pro has the most data again.
Hobie. Hobie
It's
Pro.
funny.
I
It
mean,
goes back.
Hobie is, I don't
Actually,
know
they
whether
did,
you're aware, but Hobie was like where all the scammers liquidate
and
their scam coins and shit.
and know what's even more messed up about it? Terrible marketing ploy by them. They just announced that they are now HTX. I was like, any play on words that's revolves around like FTX is just a terrible idea. So yeah, Hobie is now HTX. Like they just announced it. I was like, what? Whose idea was that?
Yeah. Oh
Uh,
well. I mean, crazy crypto. I mean,
yeah.
this place. It's. I tell you, if I was ever going to write a book, this crypto adventure. Because keep in mind, I was a stockbroker for many years. I was a financial planner. I was a commodities broker. I was an options broker. I was a prop futures trader. I mean, every one of these could be a separate section of the book. And this
Yeah.
whole crypto experience, my God, you know, from
Book in its own
CZs
right.
to hobbies, you know, Mount Gox
BitConnect.
stories and roly poly olies and
BitConnect.
yeah, BitConnect. Yeah, actually, we have a guy on the site who does it so perfectly. He has the hey hey hey. He's got that down perfectly. It's incredible how he does it.
That's too funny.
Anyway, okay, so once upon a time in cryptocurrency far, far away.
Yeah.
You know, the issue I would have is there's got to be more data than prior to this. So I'm a little skeptical that we're actually looking at all the data. And then also, too, if you look at these things versus Bitcoin, I mean, how long has Tether actually been around? So there's a whole bunch of sort of moving parts. I don't know whether I would leave my analysis at this chart, but, you know, there is some interesting things going on here in the short term, so we could talk about that.
Launched in 2014, Tether was.
Tether, but these individual assets priced in tethers,
Oh, yes.
that's very different. And in
Yeah,
actual
very
fact, the whole tether thing was a response, if I'm not mistaken, to the Phoenix hack when the Phoenix hack originally happened. I don't know whether
Yep.
you remember that or not.
It was. Yeah, but that's
And they issued Phoenix tokens, and I remember a cousin of mine, he had a whole bunch of these Phoenix tokens, and he's like, what the fuck do I do with this stuff? Anyway. Okay, so looking at this price chart here in the short term, I don't think that this is a rip-roaring bull until you actually see bullish market structure on the other side of this trend line. So what that does mean is that this is actually a very wide playground here. You know, we could probably do fibs off the bottom here all the way up to the top. But yeah, and you can see 38.2 to 50% is basically going to bang up against that trend line. So that should be pretty straightforward. You've got a whole bunch of trap bulls right in this wick right here. They got somewhat released. And actually, I think it's these trap bulls that got released on that event there. But I would imagine we get price up into this wick up here and then into that wick. And then look at the size of this wick right here. You're going to see a lot of sellers coming out of the woodwork. And then, of course, this is a wick all the way up here, right? So there are a ton of trap bears that will come out over time here. I guess, what else can we say here? Probably also trend line kind of thinking. This is a pretty key pivot low, and this looks like a pretty key pivot high. So this is sort of like, think of a low to high trend line, if you can remember that. These are
Yeah.
very, very powerful. And I might even argue that Bitcoin right now is actually just walking along a low to high trend line that was established a year or so ago. So notice, look how this counter trend rally, look how it like literally stopped right on
Stops
that
right
line
there.
there, right? You think that's an accident? I don't think so.
No, sir.
So we could probably also do things like fibs off of this huge reactionary candle here, and that's probably reload zones. Well, there's a mountain man. So there's probably a bunch of people that if they did go and accumulate through here, they probably were taking profits on that event. Obviously, the fundamental story here is key. And then you're playing on Huobi. So keep in mind, Huobi has these kind of things. Was this basically like an exit wick for
So
whoever is promoting the coin?
yeah, I was gonna say when I was clicking around on those different markets, there was those big wicks on just about all of them.
Yeah, I'm surprised Binance doesn't have more data. All right. So you don't even see that old data, and it would be hard to explain why this stopped where it
Yeah.
did if we didn't have this chart and this data to refer to. Um, so
Gotcha.
I guess the question you would have here now is, has this thing actually sort of bottomed in the near term? And it looks like it's trying to. I mean, absolutely huge playground here. So, if you are playing this, you might be able to bang out doubles and triples and the whole thing, just even within these trading ranges. So, not nearly as pretty. Remember this guy here, right? God, you want textbook, what do good looking W bottoms look like? Print this chart
Right
off,
there.
because that was just, that's the
Yes.
shit. That's just so perfect. So you tell me, I mean, you see these W's the way that they came in here.
Those
Does
are
this
beautiful.
look like that? Not
No.
really.
No.
I mean,
Good.
what you would have preferred to see. If anything, you don't want to see this pop. Right? It would have been better had this thing just sort of done something like this, right? And then broken out, right? Which is sort of what this is, right? Back and forth, and then break out. And
Then it
even here, I
continued.
mean, even better. Look at this. This one was perfect, right? So it's okay, but clearly this move up here was too far, too fast.
Yeah.
And, obviously straight up, straight back down. Boom. You could change this to a line chart, and then that disappears, and there is your weekly W. So I don't really have a problem if you want to be long this thing. Okay, great. I suppose, like little old ladies kind of idea. You could probably justify being long from that clothesline level. I don't know whether Joe Sixpack could participate. If you were long from that level, can you take 50% risk? So that's, what is that? That's $7, we'll say, somewhere in that area. And this low is 340. So it's a little bit high. Joe Sixpack would have to try and get long. 340 times 2 is 680. So we could be long if you're going to Joe Sixpack this from something like in that area there. You'd have to work a stink bid, and if this thing takes off, well, you've missed it. In fact, actually, I think after this crazy blow off top, can you see how this thing put in a cute little W right in here? So if you were a trader, I think you probably, what do you think the odds are that this bottom was in a reload zone of that range? So,
Probably very high.
yeah. So, yeah, even below. Yeah. So even better. So if you were, and if you want to practice this going forward, you're not allowed to chase. Don't chase, don't chase, don't chase. You have to be patient and disciplined in one freaking day. Straight up and straight back down. Boom. So, if anything, you see that and you go, well, it's a good thing I didn't chase that. And then you want to let this thing settle down. Let's see if we can start seeing bullish momentum divergences as we're coming down into this reload zone. So you can see, oh, hello. Do you see how MACD started making higher lows as of this point right here? You see that?
Mm-hmm.
RSI started to wash out and bottom out right here. Willie is officially stupid as of, oh yeah, right there, right, when it goes below minus 80. So anywhere down in here, if we start seeing W's, it's okay to start thinking bull.
Okay.
And I mean, yeah, it should be pretty obvious.
Yeah.
I can see lots of little W's. It looks like this low is slightly lower than this low, but that low there is 414.3 and this is 417. So, okay, there's your low. Rallied away, came back down. This low, 1417. So that's higher than 1414. And then notice, look at the little fight here. Rallied up, came back down. This low, 424. Then breakout. So I could see lots of reasons to try and get long down in this area here. Hell, you want to be a real sharpshooter, let this thing break out. You know the floor's in there. Then draw your reload zone off of that range. Maybe just go throw a stink bid in at 78.6s and you get an absolute gift here. Or, you know, if you want. I mean, this is interesting. Do you know what this bar pattern is called? Where you have a gap right here and a gap right here. You know what this is called?
I don't think I've seen that yet.
It's called an island.
An island. But we have our pen and paper out.
There you go. And that's actually a really good example. An island gap. So you could make the argument that the island itself is a double bottom, right? Down, up, down, breakout. So that means I can buy right there. That's a W, eh? Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And is that in our reload zones? Looks like it. Is it off the double bottoms? Yeah, basically. I mean, you could argue down, up, down. This is actually like a breakout there, a double bottom right there, right? So that's basically the same level. So I think you could probably make the argument that this is not a bad level to be long. Nothing wrong with that at all. And, you know, this is, if you can, you know, force yourself to drill down to lower time frames, really hunt these really well, you can see that this is, and actually what I wanted to do, well, actually we can just eyeball this. So 450, and I'm going to risk down to 413. So now I'm only risking about 10% of my capital. So now we can actually, you know, if you wanted to be Joe Sixpack, and if your risk window is 10% of your capital, then what leverage could you use to not break that Joe Sixpack rule? Let's see if you can do the math. You're going to risk 10%.
Yeah.
And Joe Sixpack says, how much can you risk?
50%.
So how much leverage can you use if 10% is your risk, but you're going to risk 50% of your capital?
That'd be 40, the difference between the two?
No, 5x.
Ah.
Right, so 5 times 10% is 50%.
Gotcha.
So this is actually a pretty good scenario where you could do like 5x leverage and follow that Joe Sixpack risk model. And, you know, take some profits at 2 to 1. That was actually a pretty easy trade. You're filled right here. And 2 to 1, maybe we sell half, move my stop to scratch on that event. I pay myself for my hard-earned effort. And am I still long?
I'd say so.
Yeah, so who knows where the hell the free coins will take you.
Yeah.
You still have your stop at the bottom, and you are now shopping for Lambos. Well, maybe not.
Yeah. Ideally, that's
shopping for Hondas.
Yes. All right, so we did get the timer there. I think Omar, we got one room for one more here. So
what do you think? Did I do this thing justice?
I think so. Checked out in my book.
You could also, it might be a little bit big, But it'd be interesting to see whether this move went beyond 66. Oh yeah, it did. Yeah, so it's not a bullish bot. I think if anything, this looks like yet another reload zone. So notice 78.6 there, 61.8, and look at the W's coming in here. So I think you could actually justify another entry off of that W right there. So there's a number of ways to get in on this thing. And as we had sort of pointed out before, I like the idea. See, I don't know whether I believe enough data has been here. I think there's probably more data over here, whether it be versus Bitcoin. You know, this is versus Tether. So maybe it's versus like Ethereum or Bitcoin or something. It would be interesting to see historical data, whether this is some sort of floor on this asset. But with what we had to work with here, that was actually a pretty good illustration of waiting for the pullback and then hunting your entry off the lower time frames to get in on that reload zone pullback. That was actually a pretty good example. And then ultimately, I think that we're probably going to rally up into Collins' dump chaser zone up here. So there's a bit of money to be made here. Probably this low to high trend line, though, is going to be a major resistance point. So probably we do something like this kind of thing going forward. So, anyway. Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Sounds good. Well, we're at 7 o'clock here.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, look at that. So the time flew.
But Omar's requested Chainlink, so I think we
Link?
can. Yeah, just.
Well, you can't buy Link now. We all know that.
He said foggies and extensions on Chainlink.
Foggies and extensions on Chainlink.
Right,
what do we want to do this versus Australian dollars? Brazilian real. Geez, that's a good sign when it's listed versus so many different things, eh? Fuck.
On so many,
everybody around the world
on
is
so many
all
different exchanges.
Pardon me?
Across so many different exchanges too.
Actually, it's interesting because maybe Trade Ogre must be a stock market proxy. Because actually, I think Omar asked today on the Daily Brief if it's the same Omar, which I think it probably is. For us to actually look at the OTC traded link issue and compare it to the actual link itself in crypto. And there's actually a lot of really good information from that study, but we won't go into that today. Since we're at the top of the hour, let's wind this up fairly soon. So, good old link, of course, we were long from, it looks like it's backed off a little bit here. So yeah. I think we were, I'm long from 7 and change. Where do we want to look at this thing?
Let's hit Kraken.
All right. I don't know. You tell me, is that a bull market? Sure looks like a bull market.
Yeah, I'd say.
Are we Wing out on other sides of trend lines? Oh, yes.
Yes,
I mean, just honestly, people, just take a screenshot of this. I mean, you don't have to reinvent the wheel to get rich at this game. It's the same shit over and over and over. There's nothing new about this at all. So, bull market, if anything, you kind of don't want to get in this thing's way. If you ever watch any of my daily videos, the intro piece that we have to the daily video is learn the goddamn trading plan, take appropriate risk, and just let yourself get rich. So here is a really good example of that. I can't tell you enough. There will be probably more people that will be calling tops in here than people that are like, you know what? I'm just going to let this thing breathe. I spent a ton of time. Keep in mind, this is like a full year and a half.
And we've been talking about this
for a long time, haven't we?
A couple of months.
Right?
Too,
we even set the alarms. I even remember you calling or DMing me and getting all excited. Holy shit, Link, bro! Oh my god, I did what you said I was gonna do. I can't believe this is the better.
I did it, and I bought in. So
did you? You pulled the trigger?
I did.
Well, there you go. So the University of Oregon thanks you for your contribution to their education program. And you didn't even have to take out another student loan. Way to go.
Yeah. Well, it's going to pay for those student loans.
And you know what? The fucking thing might just do that. Excuse my French. It might just do it. You
And
know, like if you ever, I think I've told you about this guy on crypto social media. Crypto, what the hell's his name? Chico Crypto
yeah,
or something like that is
yeah.
his channel name. But I think his name's Tyler, if I'm not mistaken. And I think he even put out a video recently that I think he's calling for like $200 on this damn thing.
It's funny. I actually gotten my finance professor, man, or financial accounting professor, the other day. We were talking about balance sheets, and I asked about crypto, and he was he was a
Now this should be an
hater.
interesting answer. All right, what did he say?
He was a hater, and I,
Totally.
and I stood my ground, but we yeah, I'll leave it at that. But the next day he apologized to me. He's like he's like, you know what, I'm sorry, I came off pretty aggressively there. Like,
But
yeah,
just you have to understand that that's what happens with every venture cap investment.
yeah,
Every venture capital investment. And you have to remember that a company like Microsoft at one point was a venture cap stock. At one point Microsoft was a penny stock. So you have to understand that every single blue chip idea at some point in its life was a venture cap idea. Very, very rarely do they ever come out as like, I'm a blue chip stock from day one, look at me. So it's ironic, and if anything, we when we get to the point where that university professor starts actually making fundamental justification for the prices that they are, that's our cue as professional traders to do what?
yeah.
GTFO.
See ya. It's funny, and then he just brought it at the end of it. He's just like, I like stocks like Verizon Wireless. Like,
Well, yeah, and then you could go back to him and say, well, do you understand where Verizon came from? Because technically, Verizon is just nothing more than actually it's part of the monopoly that was the telephone company. And it was just broken up, it was deregulated. And the irony of it all is if you ever listen to anybody who runs these videos and stuff, ask them about companies like Verizon and Comcast and all that and dealing with those companies. I mean, what's it like dealing with a monopoly? They're not really very customer friendly, are they? They couldn't care. Anyway, okay, let's finish off this conversation.
Yeah.
That's the other stuff's irrelevant. So, whenever you see a chart like this, the very first thing that you should always tell yourself, think in your mind, and let's see if you guys can remember this. The longer the something, the bigger the something.
The longer the channel, the bigger the run.
And my friends, that is like a 1.5 year long narrow sideways channel. That's what we call these, narrow sideways channels. Hugely bullish event here. Hugely bullish. And then also, too, what is the one thing that we want to see that will absolutely confirm that this is insanely bullish? It starts with a V.
A V bottom.
No.
Damn it.
Volume.
Volume speaks volume.
Exactly. We want to see the buyers are buying and they just keep buying. So you tell me, what direction is that OBV indicator pointing?
It's a whole lot of volume.
Right. It's pointing up. And interestingly enough, even on this weekly price chart, is Willie stupidly overbought yet? No.
It's not
yet.
No.
So that means to me that this thing still probably has further to go. How about MACD? Is MACD showing us any signs of divergence here?
Not quite.
No, I mean, that's a new high here.
No.
Show me a new high and I'll show you a crack hoe. No, that's not how it goes. Something like that. So I'll show you a new high like and I'll show you a buy, right? Yeah, so that looks extremely bullish. This is, as I said before, this is a situation where I don't even think you really even want to get in front of this thing. You just want to let it breathe. We spend so much fucking time and effort waiting for this damn W to come in. Just let it do its thing. So, Yeah, I got a sliver. Ouch. All right. Where the hell is this thing going? What did I say was the first fib level that I always throw on all my charts just to keep myself honest?
The 38, the first stop,
Exactly.
38.2.
So that's probably a pretty good sort of initial objective here, where this thing ought to bounce to. And can you see that sitting at $23? Holy shit. That's a long way up, isn't it?
It
Even
is.
from where we are now, right? That's still another $10 higher.
Yeah.
Now, according to my trading rules, as soon as the asset doubles, I try to keep it as simple as possible. I take my hat off, but my hair is really greasy, so I'll save you all that headache. But I like to try and keep as much hair on the top of my head as possible. Long gone are the days of your kind of hairdos, but still got a little bit of hair left, and actually not too gray yet. A little bit of gray's coming in on the beard, which sucks. But anyway, low stress as possible. So I like to try and get myself into a risk-free trade as soon as possible, and that's the whole logic of selling half on a double. If you did buy the weekly breakout level, and frankly speaking, I think a lot of people probably did, including institutional players, they're going to want that double. This is exactly the same as Bitcoin. Why did Bitcoin move up to where it did recently? And if we go and look at the original double, I won't pull it up because it'll probably stall the machine out. But you'll notice that price here at 36,000 is almost exactly double the double bottom breakout level. Remember, the double bottom was at like 18,000.
Yeah.
Which means probably Bitcoin's going to probably what? Double that, which is what?
36.
6,000. Oh, gee whiz.
Crazy. What's
so,
that right now?
So that number was, what number was that? That number was $8.43. So just based on, and you know, the irony of it all is the markets often move in these incredibly simple ways. But $8.43, where should we expect a lot of institutional selling to come in? 1686,
yeah.
right? Pretty straightforward. Yeah. So 1686 is right in that area. So that is a double off the.
Yeah.
Whoops. I'm not sure what happened there. Let's try that again. Double off. Oh, now it's doing that. You're jumping all over the place. I wonder if do you use Brave? What browser do you use?
I use Google Chrome.
Wonder if Brave doesn't really like the app. I don't know. Anyway, notice this high right here. Right, yes. And of course, there's first signs of some trap bulls right there, right?
Yeah.
So I'm starting to see some confluence of levels. We got that high right there, which is 18 and change. Well, actually, we know exactly that number, 1806. And we know that anybody who bought this, this is a weekly price chart, so anybody who bought this weekly W, they're probably going to be thinking about ringing the register up here in this 1680, 1690 area. So I do like that. You know, we could also, too, put on like the lowest fib level, which I don't really use that often because it's so close to the market often that sometimes like the market just blows right through it and you're kind of like, well, that's not a really very good level to use. But I think it's 26.4. I can't remember. Somebody probably can correct me on that.
Omar says round numbers $20. BFRN.
Yeah, okay. That's not outlandish. It's not outlandish. And then also too, what's this high right here? So where are we here? Horizontal ray. What's that high there? That is 1930. I think it's going to rally up into this area, and it's just going to tease you, Omar. It's going to drive you crazy. So I do like that big fat round number. And also remember too that we're looking at this as versus Tether. and we're over on Kraken. So
Yeah.
there's so many different moving parts. You might find versus US dollar on Coinbase. Actually, these levels actually are $20. You just never know in this game. But
Yeah,
just
Coinbase has
generally speaking, using this chart, I kind of like this level as a resistance level.
Coinbase
Um,
has the second highest the 24-hour volume, and it's Coinbase versus US dollar though.
okay.
Yeah.
So we did look at horizontal support and resistance, and we talked about clotheslines earlier. That looks like a pretty important level to me in there. We're coming up into that now. It looks like the actual lowest low, we're punching through it now, so it'll be interesting to see whether there are any sellers that turn up on that event. Um, I do kind of like that level there, that clothesline low. Remember, we said the institutions like looking at these clotheslines. That's 1557. So anywhere up in this area, I think it would make sense. And also, too, our conversation about things like Bitcoin and how ridiculously overbought it's getting and stuff. We're probably coming into the end of this move. Exactly where it is, well, it's anybody's guess. I don't really like getting into the prediction game. What I would just say is, look, we've got our confluence of levels. You have a pretty good idea of where this thing wants to go. So let's just see where it does actually top out. I was going to go down to the daily chart here and then maybe start drawing some Fibonacci off of this low to see if we have any levels line up. And then also, too, I'd be curious to do a fib just off of these lows. Hey, there we go. And where the reload zones are off of that original top up there.
Ben says 16.11 is the 50% level on Link logarithmic chart. End of November 2018, Link hit resistance at 50% level.
Okay. So doing our Fibonacci off of this. Uh, mm, there we are. All right. Ah, interesting. 4669 is right up into that cluster of levels there. It's at
Makes sense.
$18.66. And then we said that, guys who actually bought this double bottom, they're probably going to be having their sell orders up in that area. And that's up against those highs. So I do like a nice little push up here. So how are we going to tell that this move is actually done? It might be done based on this. Remember, we said that was the weekly clothesline level.
Yeah.
That might actually turn into some pretty serious resistance here. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But, to call a top here, I'd probably want to see like confirmed bear divs. Uh-oh. So do you see how momentum here is not making higher highs here? That's a little
Yeah.
concerning. Do you see how this recent push up here, the volume is not higher? So we are starting to get divergence. Is Willie stupid? You bet. Very stupid. So just understand that, I mean, this shouldn't sound anything new. There's no way in hell I could be a buyer here. The
No.
question just ultimately is, can I get my double off, which I think I said was about 1510 or so. So I would
Yeah.
like to see one more push a little bit higher here, please. But if that's it, then that might just be it. Notice how
Would have been fun to take profits on the show if you double hit.
yeah, but I'm using this crazy ledger thing, so unfortunately the number that I have to see includes all the DeFi fees and all that. So
Yeah.
anyway, no big deal. I think probably bifurcations look something like that. So the question ultimately is, how do we act around this 2.618? It's probably going to make some sort of like M type pattern if it's a top, and then we have to break back down. And if it wants to continue up top here, then this will maybe make like some sort of like bot setup. And this is a consolidation, and this is a bull A, B, C, D, and we work our way up that way. So it's too early to call a top on this thing. This is a daily chart. In today's session, we just broke to new highs. Having said that, I mean, there is no sort of, M top sell signal here. If anything, if I was thinking about a top coming in, the very first thing I want to see, I think we have trade locations. So we have worked our way up into horizontal support and resistance, Fibonacci levels. Now we want to see the confirmed momentum divergences all come in here. And then following that, we want to see an M top in price. And then you could justify a short, although this is not the location on the higher time frame chart, in my opinion, to be hunting shorts. What this is if we do get the opportunity to reload, pullbacks should represent buying opportunities. And so if you wanted to get in on this thing, you missed the breakout, and you're kind of like, well, how do I get in? And all of you should, after just even watching tonight's video, know exactly what I'm going to say here. But in essence, you just throw on your reload zones, and you just got to be patient and disciplined and just wait for the market to work its way back down. And how ironic. The reload zone is basically the double bottom breakout, eh?
Yeah.
And actually if this 78.6 happens to line up with this breakout level, that's what's called a shark setup around TRI land. We have it in our library. And that would imply that actually, yeah, price does want to get up into these levels and finish its move there, because you notice then 78.6 does line up off that double bottom level. So I'm not going to say that this move is done. I'm long from down here. So do you think I give a rat's ass what happens here right now?
No.
If anything, it's just a question of, do I ring the register, or do I just, be patient and disciplined and just wait for the next wave higher? That would be my attitude right now.
Yeah.
I don't really have any sell signals here. There's no way in hell I could be a buyer, and we are starting to see anecdotal evidence that this thing is starting to run out of steam. And frankly speaking, that makes sense, because you can see where the double bottom is here, right?
Yeah.
If you were trading the daily charts, that was just a killer level right there, right? And again, this is like this guy here, right? Take screenshots of this. And, my advice to you is take screenshot of this. I don't know what the hell happened to the pane over here. Take screenshot of this and print it out. And put it right beside your desk, wherever your computer is, and just say, this is what I want to see if I want to buy something. Because it never changes. You can see, look at that cute little W right there. That might have been a bit aggressive, but this W, gee whiz, that's a pretty W, and that's probably in a reload zone. Yeah, right there. This is exactly the same conversation, right? And then we got one more over here, and then I'll stop talking. But this is exactly the same conversation as this. Take screenshots of these, post them on your wall, and then when you're looking at an idea, if it doesn't look like this, don't frickin' touch it. It's just that simple.
Yeah. Need those checks.
All right. So
Awesome.
If anything, that's probably a great note to finish the show off.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Brian, for again. And I felt like I was rushing you at times.
Yeah, we didn't even get halfway through the damn list, did we?
But because I do really appreciate hearing your thoughts on.
I wasted way too much time there at the beginning of the show. Typical.
I was trying to keep us going, and we'll get through it better. So like as always, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for your suggestions. Obviously, it makes the show a lot more interactive when we have you guys in the chats telling us ones you want. So keep it
Hey,
up.
I didn't. I was so freaking busy there. I didn't even get a chance to look at the chat.
So
You
I was
had me
trying
working
to
like a son of a bitch.
I was reading them as they were coming in there,
So,
but
how many viewers? Hey, we're up to a whopping 15 viewers.
yeah,
Woo!
and that's concurrent ones. So yeah, they're there, but then we usually get like 350, I think, by the averages on these videos by the end of it. So
Well, that's not bad.
yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much. Thank you, Brian, and PMA for the win.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my moniker.
Stealing your thunder there.
That's okay.
Um,
Hey, as long as I mean, this world is hard enough, right? I mean, it's such a hard world to live in here. So if we can just, inject some positivity, and of course, as Adam says there, if you can just say a nice little prayer for Liam and I on the on our my visit with him tomorrow, I'd appreciate it. And if you do need an education on how to do this and build plans and figure out what type of risk taker you are and where we are in macro cycles and what assets you should be interested in, maybe assets that you shouldn't be interested in, maybe consider joining our education program in the new year. We'd love to have you on board.
yeah. So when is that
New
next
new school term will
semester?
start in the new year,
Sounds good.
and as I said, we have the rationalinvestor.com/learn. You can come and sort of learn about our program and lots of sort of feedback from people who have taken the program. And also too, if you are interested, keep an eye out for Black Friday deals. I think we'll give you a little bit of a discount on the course price as well.
Beautiful.
And the next school term, we're about 2/3 of the way through the fall school term right now. And we'll go into exam season here in the end of this month, beginning of December. And then we'll take a break through Christmas, and then we'll start the whole darn thing again there in January. So
Perfect. Well, keep an eye out for Coinigy Black Friday as well. We will be having one starting that week of Black Friday. So keep an eye on our social media and announcements for that. But on that note, best of luck tomorrow, Brian. Enjoy your time with Liam, and we'll see you guys next time.
bye, everybody.